Okay people, so today I am going to be making a Acrylic Fountain pen with these green acrylic blanks, and one is going to be for the top and the other is going to be for the bottom half. So let's get into it and get ready to do everything we need to do.
Okay, before drilling the blanks, usually what I do is I measure it and I'll leave a little bit of space on the bottom, and then I'll mark the blank so that I have some space left, and I'll mark it so just in case if I mess up or it cracks on one side, then I have enough to fix it. And then I'll do the same thing to the other one, a little bit of space, and then mark it in here, and then I'll straighten it like the line. And then the bits that I'm going to be using for those pens are 1532 and a 25/64 bit. Okay, so I got both pieces drilled out already, or not drilled out, I mean cut. And then here's this. These were I don't know, kind of messy, I guess, but it still worked though. And now I'm gonna start drilling them.
Okay, so when drilling acrylic blanks, you want to go as slow as possible. You don't want to try and force it through to make it go faster. No, because if you do that, then you can break the acrylic piece. So like the bottom half will break off and like it ruins it. So you just gotta go at a calm, steady pace, and it will be good from there. Okay, so now I got both acrylic blanks drilled out for the top and bottom half of the fountain pen, and all I have to do now is sand the tubes. If you're wondering why I just don't put them in like that, it's because it doesn't have any like surface or like rough texture to grab onto, so you sand them and then you use like crazy glue, epoxy, or super glue.
So like any type of strong adhesive will work.
Okay, so now pretty much what I'm doing is just sandwiching the brass tube in between the sandpaper so that it gives it a good rough texture for the glue to grab onto, and so that it won't come off while you're making it on the lathe. Okay, so when I apply glue to the brass tubes, I just twist it a little bit and just make sure it gets all over. So I'll go like one turn to the front, one turn to the back, and just whatever, so that it equally spreads throughout the pen. And then I'll twist it and I'll hit it on like the table or like my little work cart so that I don't get glue in my hand. So I'm not trying to get stuck to it. And then I do the same thing to the other pen blend with the brass tube. Okay, so if you were wondering why I left a little bit of space on the blanks when I cut them, is so that when I use a reamer, I can clean it up and make it even, so that I don't have one side that's like lopsided, or with like, if it has a chip in it or something, it won't affect it. So now I'm using a 1532 reamer, and this part goes on all the other sizes that there is. So yeah, the pen reamer part is so that it cleans the inside. So say you glue it and some glue gets on the inside, well, it cleans it. And then that shorter fat piece cleans the outside, so it's like so that it fits on the lathe good. and it doesn't interfere with the spacers that you have to put and everything, because if it's not fully flat, then it will make the carving or like the shape of the pen lopsided. So say if you don't have it straight, it'll come out to like one side, or it won't come out as good as you wanted it. So that's why you gotta clean it, make sure everything's good to go. It kind of took some time because the drill press was literally like extended all the way, so I had to rise the piece of acrylic a little bit. But at the same time, when you're doing this, you don't want to go too hard, because you can like cut too much and then it can have a negative effect on the pen that you're making. So this is a better view of using the pen reamer for this part, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little brass tube. Once I lift the drill press, you can see it a little bit, and that's what I'm trying to make it flush to. Okay, so I have to replace the reamer part because it is a different a different size for the bottom piece of the fountain pen. So yeah, and what it does, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I explained it already, but it cleans out the inside, and it helps the pen blank go into the mandrel smoothly. Because if you don't do this, then sometimes it's kind of hard to put it onto the mandrel. So okay, so on that side I had to go a little bit deeper, and I think I had the piece of acrylic, I can't talk, a little too low, so I had to readjust it, I think, I don't know. And when I was going down, I don't want to go in too deep or push it too hard, because you could mess up the brass tube that's on the inside, and it would have like a negative effect on how the pen is going to work. And if it's too short, then the pieces might not fit onto each other. And here's a little side by side of both of the pieces. You can see one's a little bit thicker than the other. The thicker part is the top piece, or the cap, and the other one was the bottom half. So that's the mandrel, that little metal rod that's sticking out, and those little silver things on there are spacers, and those are Metro pen or Metro fountain pen bushings. Those are the ones that are specifically meant for fountain pen. So anytime you use like one type of pen, it has to have all the stuff that it needs, because there's certain thicknesses, like those two bushings right there are thicker than the other two, and on the bottom half of the pen, there's one side that's thinner than the other by like, I don't even know how much, by like 0.5 or something. I don't even know. I know there's a different size in the front and back of the pen, but the reason why I use a pen reamer is so that when I put those bushings on there, they fit clean, and I don't have a hard time putting them in, and they're flush to the pen. Because if they're not flush, then it will make the pen warp, or it will be slanted to one side. I'm spinning it around so that you can see how it's gonna look, like the color and everything. And sometimes when you do pens, the color changes. So like say you do one side, and then the other, or like you think it's gonna look one way and it comes out the other way. And that's a top view of how the pen looks. And here is a time lapse of me shaping the pen and cutting it down to the size and the thickness that I wanted it to be. Okay, so right here I am using a carbide tool, so those work a little bit better than some chisels because they're sharper and they don't get as dull fast because they're carbide, I guess. And then when you're doing this, you have to go kind of slow, because if not, then you'll shatter the piece or you'll break it, and then it's just like really sweet. Then you have to like start over, or what you can do is just like trim that piece that you broke on like the end or something. You can trim it and then just add another piece of a different color, or like a little ring on the back or something. And those are the sanding pads that I'm going to use. There's 9, I think. Yeah, 9 of them. And that's how the pen looks right now. That's how it's before it's sanded. And then usually what I do is I go with the sanding block first to clean it a little bit, see what I'm dealing with, and then I'll go in with some rough sandpaper, clean it, get it all equal, and then I'll hit it again with the sanding block, and then I'll put some of the scratch remover polish thing on there, and then I'll go with all the different little micro mesh, I think that's what they're called, or wet sanding pads on there, and I'll go with all of them, and then I'll do that. And then I put some of that wax on there so that if there's any scratches or anything, or it just gives it more of a shine. And that's a top view of how it looks. Okay, so right here I was setting up the pen in the order that it goes to be assembled in. Okay, so when putting any type of pen together, you want to be careful with it. Make sure that everything is lined up straight and it is put in the right spot, because if any part is flipped, or if you do it like switched or something, it will ruin the pen, and you'll have to take the whole thing apart. Okay, so when putting the cart in, all you have to do is unscrew the nib from the top of the pen and insert it into that little, I don't know what that's called, but yeah, you put it in there. And when you put it, you put the small side in first, and you push it all the way to you hear like a little pop, or you feel it when it punctures a little ink capsule, and then from there you can start writing with it. Okay, so now I'm gonna attempt to try and write with it, because this is the very first time I've ever used a pen like this. Oh wow, this is nice. Okay, let's see if I can do my name in cursive. Oh, what the heck? It didn't go through. Yeah, okay, fill it back in. This is weird. I'm not used to writing with a pen like this. And then let's try. Hold on, let's try it again. Make it a little bit more fancy. I suck at writing with this. Hold on. Oh, that's why that looked weird. I forgot my R. Okay, so I was surprised on how good these write. They write so smooth, and they are way better than a regular pen. So, yeah, so when I sign papers now, I'm going to be using this pen, you know? Okay, so I have done so many custom pens and different types of styles, and mostly I do slimline pens, so like the ones you see in the background, and I do freestyle, so I do whatever, and a lot of people like the styles that I do, so that's good. And if you want to see more, go follow me on Instagram.